There are 5 levels of income. There's what you call as day to day, level 1, week to week, level 2, month to month, level 3, level 4, year to year, and level 5, decade to decade. When you talk about year to year, you have already 1 year of emergency fund. Decade, you have 10 years of emergency fund. Even you don't have to work for 10 years, you're okay. Now, let me ask you and people out there who's listening to this podcast, among the 5 levels, what do you think is the most dangerous level? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5?
I wanted to bring you on, Chinkee, because you're one of the forefront experts at talking about financial literacy, which is a very difficult subject to teach in the Philippines, and you're probably the biggest influencers to the mass market. And I wanted to bring you on to kind of dive deeper into the subject. Tell me how bad financial literacy is in the Philippines from your point of view.
Yeah, I think you would see the level of financial literacy of, let's say, a family, a company, a community, and a nation based on the economic level and the situation, level of income of the people. So, like for example, if you talked about Asia, let's talk about Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, and most of them really they're already on the progressive side in terms of most of them are considered as already first world countries. Unfortunately, here in the Philippines, it's the entire opposite. Majority of the people here are still poor. And the reason why they're still poor, it's not because of the lack of money, it's not because of the lack of opportunities, it's because of the lack of knowledge and ideas with regards to money and personal finance. If it's really the lack of opportunity, I don't think there will be any thriving business and billionaire who will be present here right now in our country.
Yeah.
And the mere fact, majority of the people sees opportunity, like business people come here to the Philippines, invest in the Philippines, while most of the Filipinos, they always go out of the country to look for a better opportunity.
Is the Philippines poor?
Well, I would say yes and no. Yes, in the sense na majority of the people are. When you say poor, it depends on the economic level. At the same time, when we talk about poorest of the poor, they cannot even afford to eat 1 meal a day. They live in a condition that is really bad. No water supply, no clean toilets, or probably formal education. We have lots of that. Definitely, especially in the rural areas. However, when we talk about poor, it's very relative. Relative in a sense, some people can afford it, some people cannot afford it. Like for example, talking about, is this product expensive? Well, I do believe there's no product that was created or is created that is expensive. It depends on your affordability level. For you to eat probably at a fast food restaurant, 100 pesos, probably can afford it. Yes, it's cheap. But for a person who lives off the street, it's too expensive.
Right.
For a person probably to eat a meal at 25,000 to 30,000 as a steak restaurant, it's too expensive. But for a person who makes 1 million to 2 million pesos,
Right.
that's affordable.
Right.
So again, it all depends on the person.
But I don't think the Philippines is poor in terms of resources, right?
Definitely, we're talking about natural resources, human resources. We're so rich.
Right.
Unfortunately, again, it's the lack of knowledge and ideas that
Right.
makes people poor.
Well, the Banco Central did a survey, and they say 25% of Filipino adults are financially illiterate. I would argue that it's less than that, actually, but that's what they say, and that's one of the lowest in Southeast Asia. You know, what are some of the misconceptions, the common misconceptions that Filipinos have about saving money, about debt, about investing?
Well, there's a lot. Let's talk about first, again, the problem. They always say, the reason why I cannot save because I don't have much. I do not earn much. Well, this is the strange part. When the income was little, they were able to get by. At the same time, they were able to save a little. But when they started to earn more, that's the time they cannot really make their income fit. At the same time, they get into debt.
Yeah.
So people always complain about inflation because my family is growing, the prices is going up, which most of these things you cannot control.
Right.
But people never talked about and complain about lifestyle inflation.
Tell us what lifestyle inflation means.
It means the more you make, the more you spend. Whether we like it or not, all of us, including
nature.
me, there's no such thing as satisfaction when it comes to the things that you want in life.
Right.
You have an aspiration to have a better life, better home, better car. You want to live life better.
Right.
However, again, this is what I've realized. If you do not understand the difference between satisfaction and contentment, that's where the problem lies. I'm satisfied. I'm happy in for today. Like for example, I'm only eating once a day. Okay, you can say yes. I'm happy that I'm eating once a day. I'm satisfied that I'm eating once a day. But I'm contented that I'm eating once a day. But I know there will come a time that I will eat 3 times a day. So right now, yes, I have only enough money to probably take a jeep. But
Right.
there's an aspiration for you that
Right.
you're happy and contented right now that you have money for a jeepney ride. But you have an aspiration that one day that you're going to own your own car.
Right.
So again, that's the difference between being satisfied and with content. And one quote that I can never forget is contentment makes a poor man rich. Discontentment makes a rich man poor.
Right.
So in other words, we should learn how to be contented, but you should never be satisfied because the good days are not behind us, but the good days are ahead of us. You should start believing, start dreaming, start aspiring for more.
Wow, that's correct. The Philippines has gone through, it's one of the big economic growth story in Asia over the last, few decades, right? And I think someone said in a study that the Philippines is starting becoming a lower middle income
Yes.
class
Yes.
in 2025, 2026. But yet Filipinos still feel poor. Like how much of that poverty comes from financial literacy versus just not having enough or enough opportunities?
Well, again, a lot of people are saying, or probably most of the people are saying when I encounter them, I cannot start my own business because I don't have money. I don't have capital.
Right.
So it's probably always they complain about the lack of resources. Yes or no?
Yes.
But
Always.
in reality is this, it's never about the lack of money and resources. What do I mean? Let's say you give 1 million pesos to a person who is not yet familiar and financial literate.
Yeah.
What do you think will happen with that 1 million after a year?
Spend it.
Spend everything. What if you take away all the money of an existing billionaire here in the Philippines? Like for example, the Ayalas, Lucio Tan, okay, take all of their businesses, their money and possession.
They'll rebuild it from scratch.
Exactly. They will become rich again and they will become a billionaire. That only proves even you have all the money in the world, but if you do not know what to do with your resources and money, it's useless.
Right.
Even though you don't have much, but if you know how to create it, how to recreate it, you will have more. It's never about the lack of resources. It's always about the lack of resourcefulness.
So is it a cultural thing or a mindset thing?
Yes, because whether we like it or not, it all starts with our way of thinking, your mindset. Your way of thinking will dictate your way of living. Wrong way of thinking, wrong way of living. Right way of thinking, right way of living. It doesn't really matter what you believe in life. What really matters is what results are created based on your belief. So like for example, right now with your present career, profession, finances, if you're happy with the result, it means to say that your belief system is working. But if the results that you're getting is not what you really desire, probably you might ask yourself, is there something wrong with my belief system? Because your belief system will trigger your behavior and your action and your habits. So I have a formula that I always share with people. It's called mindset plus action equivalent to result. Negative mindset, negative action, negative result. Positive mindset, positive action. Wrong mindset, wrong action, wrong result. Right mindset, right action, right result.
Absolutely.
So based on your way of thinking, this will dictate, again, your way of living. Wrong way of thinking, wrong way of living. Right way of thinking, right way of living. And in relation, since you have already formed your mindset, that will become your culture, your behavior, your habit. And whether we like it or not, culture defines destiny. So if you look at 3 countries, when you say on time, it's American time. When you say ahead of time, it's Japanese time. When you say late, it's
Filipino time.
Yes. So among the 3 nations, again, not to put down our own country sa Filipino, among the 3 nations, who's the most progressive? Japan. Who's the next? America. And then who's the last? Because of the culture. So if you want to really change, you don't change the environment, but you change your way of thinking and you change your culture.
I see. Yeah. I think culture has a lot to do with it. And, it's the biggest influence around us. So I wonder, do we have hope? Do we have hope for people to break out of this poverty mindset?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, I do believe there's so much hope in our country. Filipinos are really resilient as people.
Yeah.
Even though they go through a lot of calamities, but they still are happy. They're very resilient people, not unlike the people that I see in other countries. They're so spoiled. They have everything in life, but still they complain. Here in the Philippines, we don't have much, but people are happy. So, however, the only way it can change if there's a revolution in terms of mindset, revolution in terms of education, revolution in terms of helping them to understand. Because once they understand, they will have the power. And one thing that I've learned in life, he who has hope in the future has power in the present. When you don't have hope in the future, you won't have power in the present.
That's true. Yeah. Your motivation has to come from somewhere.
Yes, and that's, again, in line with great power comes great responsibility. He who offers the most hope has the most power.
Right.
So one thing that Filipinos, I do believe, need to have is really hope. The hope that they can really improve their lives. The hope that they can really get out of poverty. The hope that they can really get out of their financial situation.
So let's play with this. So you get a whole country to believe and be hopeful that they can get out of poverty, but it doesn't stop there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so many steps and layers to this.
First, we have what we call when I train people, when I train an organization, I use the ASK method, ASK method. When you say ASK method, it starts with A, attitude, your way of thinking. Then that's what we talked about on the first part. But your mindset, even though you're the most motivated and inspired person in the world, but if you don't have the S, the right skills, you need to upgrade your skills.
Right.
Motivation and inspiration can only bring you up to a certain level.
Let's talk about those skills.
Yes. In terms of skills, there are a lot of skills that you can learn, definitely. One of the skills that I highly recommend that everyone should learn is selling skills.
Selling, yep.
I know it's something that people are not comfortable. I'm not a sales type. I'm too shy. I don't even talk to myself.
Well, like a lot of CEOs and Fortune 500 CEOs and entrepreneurs are sales guys.
Yeah, as a
majority actually.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you notice, just to prove that everyone's selling, before you take your meal at your favorite restaurant, what do you normally do? You take a photo, and then after that, you post it. After you post it, and people will ask, "Oh, where's that food? Is it okay? How much is it?" Okay, so you promoted that food and that restaurant, and then people came and ate there. Who made the money? the owner.
Right.
You went to a vacation, you paid for everything, and then you took an OOTD, and at the same time, the place, and then people ask, okay, and they went there, who made the money? So every day you're selling without you knowing. As a matter of fact, for me, you have to start renewing your mind, changing your mind. Selling is not selling because we had that old mindset. It's just like you see a person who holds a briefcase at the same time wearing suit, trying to pressure to buy something that you don't like. That's the concept of selling.
Right.
But now selling is not selling. Selling is just sharing.
Right.
And then, as a matter of fact, some people say, I'm not up for sales. The mere fact, when you apply for a job and the HR will ask you, why should we hire you? And what do you normally say? What does a person normally say when they want to get hired?
I don't know. It's been a long time since I stood in front of an interview.
No, they would say, I'm the most qualified.
You're selling yourself, right?
So the mere fact you're doing that, you're selling yourself. Have you seen someone who, you know what, I'm really a lazy person. I don't really like to work. I'm just forced by my mom to apply.
Of course not.
So you won't.
Right.
So what you're basically doing is selling.
Yes, of course.
So if you know how to sell, you can sell an idea. You can sell a concept. You can sell a product. You can sell a service. You can start anything.
Now all of a sudden you can make money.
Exactly.
Now you make money. Now what do you do with that money? How do you manage that money? That's also a skill too.
Yeah. And before we go to that, probably I would just like to emphasize why selling is close to my heart. Because I started everything in my life without capital. I was 12 years old during that time. My father lost his business. During those 3 years, those were the hardest moments. So I was selling toilet paper during that time.
Toilet paper, right?
Yeah. My mom sold wholesale and I sold retail. And again, it's different when you read from books. It's different when you apply it in real life.
Yeah.
And this is what first thing that I've learned. Rule number 1 in sales. People you expect to buy will never buy from you. People you least expect to buy are the ones buying from you. People you expect to support you are not the ones supporting you. People you least expect to support are the ones supporting you.
Absolutely.
That's number 1. Second lesson that I've learned in sales. When you try to do something good, there will be a lot of people who will try to discourage you and try to steal your dreams and visions away from you.
Of course.
So second thing is never listen to negative people. And number 3 thing, when you start something, you are bound to fail.
Yes.
So it's never about failure. It's how many times you pick yourself up and learn from that failure.
Yeah.
So from toilet paper, I sold pants, I sold shoes. So I hit my first million when I was in my 20s because of selling.
Wow. You're one of the few success stories that I've heard from someone starting from nothing here. And you don't hear too many of those stories. Actually, you hear very few of those stories. Like you hear the stories about Henry C. You hear most Filipinos. The thinking here is if you're not born into a rich family, there's not much upward mobility. There's not much opportunity for you if you're from the lower class. And I can see how everything is stacked up against you, right?
Yeah. Not only that, I never finished a college degree.
Wow.
Yes. What's amazing is this. This is the amazing part. Even though I never finished my college degree, I became the first and last summa cum laude at my campus when I was at grade 6.
Oh, wow.
No, that's just a joke. There's no summa cum laude in grade 6. No, the reason why I was given a title of summa cum laude, John, and for you, your listeners out there, I failed grade 6 4 times. I mastered it. No, I failed grade 6 4 times. So, again, this is what I've learned, a good life lesson that I've learned at a very young age. In life, it doesn't really matter how many times you fail.
Yes.
What really matters is how many times you bounce back.
Yeah. And those failures are the hard lessons that you need to kind of carry you through.
Yeah.
to be able to it's the failures that create that mindset that you need, right? Because if you've never failed ever in your life, how are you going to have the mindset to navigate through hard times or to find new opportunities, to have the confidence to even take the risk? Right?
Exactly. And the reason why a lot of people, as a matter of fact, you know what? The biggest graveyards, the biggest and the richest graveyards are the people who died without even implementing and trying their ideas.
Yeah. But you're not in grade 6 where, you know, I can't imagine you were dumb. You're obviously smart. You're probably a smart kid. Maybe it was just, why did you fail?
No, I think I'm not just really good for the regular academics in terms of education. I'm a self-learner and I want to learn at my own pace.
Yeah.
And probably I have ADHD when I was younger, but it wasn't diagnosed.
Yeah, we didn't have that back then.
Yes, exactly. So they just probably label you as a person who's really naughty, or probably you're just hard-headed. So for me, I get to enjoy learning when I'm doing, applying, and get to ask questions rather than really from a class listening to a teacher. I really get bored.
Yeah. You know, your story resonates with me because I never got good grades. I slept through most of my classes, or I was always drawing. I was just bored in class, and I got kicked out of high school too. My friends, and I got into a lot of trouble. I was a trouble kid. So my friends back in high school would never believe that I'm successful back then.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it taught me some really hard lessons, but not every kid who fails succeeds.
Yeah.
A lot of kids who fail or just become failures.
Yeah, that's the reason why probably most people are asking why there are people who are just lazy. I don't believe there's a person in this world that was born lazy or is born lazy. But most people, they tried, they failed, and they become afraid.
And the fear makes them lazy.
Yes. Once you're afraid, like for example, you started a business, it didn't work. So it's just like being bitten by a dog and you had a dog trauma.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to try to touch a dog again.
Right.
And likewise, you tried something and then you failed. But your mindset, not everything you do will fail.
Right.
But in their minds, they accept, no, everything that I will do, I'm a failure because my parents said I'm a failure, my friends said I'm a failure, and I experienced I'm a failure. Yes, I'm a total failure. But people don't understand the real meaning of failure or fail. When you spell fail, John, how do you spell fail?
FAIL.
It's called first attempt in learning. The reason why you failed because you don't know much.
Is that the real acronym for it?
Well,
or you just
I heard it.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So that's the reason why you must ask yourself when you fail, what did you learn? And never commit the same failure. Because it's an expensive failure.
Yes.
So if you repeat that, it will cost you again.
Right.
So after, we just explained the attitude part, then the skills part. And once you start learning skills, and not only selling skills, there's so many things right now. Excuse me. There's so many things right now that you can learn from social media right now. Based on the information, because of AI, there are 72 million people who will lose their jobs, and that's bad. However, there will be 130 million new jobs will be recreated because of AI. So your job right now is to recreate yourself, to upgrade your skill right now, to learn what are the tools, what are the future things that you need to learn.
Yeah. We should all be learning like crazy right now. Even if you are successful, you should be learning all the new technology that's out there.
Yeah, if you're listening right now to this podcast, the only thing that you really need to understand, the only thing that is permanent in this world is change.
Absolutely.
If you do not change, you become extinct. You do not innovate, you evaporate.
I always say the one constant is change. The only thing you need to do to stay ahead is to stay one step ahead.
Exactly.
Nowadays, you can't even stay 5 or 10 steps ahead anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of all the technological changes with AI and everything, you can't even get too far ahead. Just stay 1 or 2 steps ahead.
Yeah. And then if you're afraid of change, you just need to learn how to read the handwriting on the wall. Specifically, companies like Nokia, the biggest telco company or cell phone company, the hardware company, right now they become extinct. Kodak.
Mm-hmm.
They should be the cell phone right now because everyone's actually using their cell phone, not more, but as a camera.
Right.
So it's crucial right now that you need to ask yourself, what are the things that you need to, especially if you are an employee right now. And most employees are saying, how I hope that I can have permanent employment, security job employment. Well, the bad news is there's no such thing as permanent employment right now in this world.
It's an illusion.
But this is the good news, John, and especially for people who are career people out there. There's such a word called permanent employability. You make yourself so valuable in the organization that the organization cannot afford to lose your service. As a matter of fact, if they fire you, it's not your loss. It's their loss. Just like what happened in Maverick. Are you familiar with NBA?
I know who you're talking about. I don't know what the story is. Please share.
So basically, there's I was saying Mavericks is one of the NBA teams, and their franchise player is Luka. He's the franchise. He was the guy who helped them to bring them to the finals, and he got traded. He's the franchise player. He got traded, and majority of the fans of Mavericks are really pissed off, and they're so angry about the situation. And Luka was also disappointed because he started his career there. He was hoping that he will end his career. He's only 25. He went there when he was a teenager. But ultimately, he said, I cannot do anything. And he was traded to Lakers. He's right now going to play with LeBron. So technically, it's not his loss.
Right.
So, so guys, I just want to encourage you by having that type of an attitude.
Yeah. You talked about having the right attitude. One of the things that I see as a problem in terms of mindset, like I've seen this with a lot of Filipino employees. When you give them an option where they can potentially, say, work on a commission and make an upside, right? In trade for, say, a base salary, right? They always seem to choose what they believe is security, and they believe in this job, this job security, meaning a guaranteed salary.
Yeah,
they won't trade that for a bigger upside.
Yes,
right. And I feel like, is there an illusion there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely there's an illusion because human nature, I do believe, human nature, they want security, they want comfort, they want stability, right? But this is what I've realized in terms of when I share about, in terms of your income level. There are 5 levels of income. There's what you call as day-to-day, level 1, week-to-week, level 2, month-to-month, level 3, level 4, year-to-year, and level 5, decade to decade. When you talk about year to year, you have already 1 year of emergency fund. Decade, you have 10 years of emergency fund. Even you don't have to work for 10 years, you're okay. Now, let me ask you and people out there who's listening to this podcast, among the 5 levels, what do you think is the most dangerous level? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5?
2 is week to week. 3 is month to month.
Yes.
Well, obviously the day-to-day one, right? Because they're afraid of not having enough, but you're based on how you structured this question, and the obvious answer is the day-to-day one, but maybe I'd say the 3 or 4 or something like that.
Well, actually, it's not 1 and 2. Because if you're level 1 and 2, you're on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis, you will do everything in your power to get out of that situation.
Okay.
Right? But once you're out of the situation, you hit the month-to-month thing, you have a regular income. You can afford already to buy the things that you cannot afford. You can experience the things that you cannot experience. You can already buy the things that you haven't bought before. And you are already on your comfort level. And you stop there. Right?
Yeah.
But people fail to understand they cannot stop there because that's their comfort zone, and it's a dangerous zone. Why? The moment something happened to them financially, there's an emergency in the family. Since they don't have excess, they go back to level 2 and 1. And they work it out again, try to get out of the situation, get out of debt, and they go back to level 3 and stay at there again, and something happens, they go back. It's a cycle that they repeat.
That's so funny you say that, because when I was telling you about how like I'm frustrated with some of these employees that would always choose the basic salary rather than any upside opportunities, are exactly those type of people.
Yes, that's the reason why you need to give them a vision, give them again, the idea. Your goal is to go to level 4.
Yeah.
So once you're at level 4, something happens to you, you just go back to level 3. And once you're at level 4, your goal is to go to level 5.
Yeah.
So if something happens to you financially, you just go back to level 4.
Right.
It's just common sense.
Right. And so the higher the level you up, the safer you are.
Yes. And again, in the stages of
1 and 2, you're
Yeah.
scrapping tooth and nail. You're willing to do anything.
yes, that's the reason why I'm really, really excited in sharing ideas and teaching people about personal finance, because I know it can really empower them. All they need to do is just get one big idea, one good idea. This one good idea can really literally change the way they think, they behave, they do things. It will change the destiny of their lives.
What is that one idea? If there was any one idea you could implement with them, what would it be?
Well, if there's one idea, again, I will tell them that in life, it's not all about having your dream car, dream house. If there's one good idea, I'm sure there are people out there who has dreams, visions in life. But one thing that I've learned in life is this. If you want to ask something, especially if you pray, you believe in God, okay, you pray, there's one thing that you should ask from God. You shouldn't ask for money. You shouldn't ask for opportunity. Because money you can lose. Opportunity, probably,
Comes and goes.
yes. Business, it might close, right? But what you need to pray is to pray for wisdom. Because wisdom can give you knowledge. Knowledge can give you ideas. And ideas can help you make a lot of money.
But doesn't wisdom come through experience? Failures and successes all alike?
Well, you are right. At the same time, I just like to probably share this idea with you. If you say it comes from experience, it's short of saying that experience is the best teacher. Yes? But I beg to disagree 100%. For me, experience is not only the best teacher, but learning from other people's mistakes and experiences is the best teacher.
Sure. Yeah.
Why should I go to all the mistakes in my life in order for me to understand it's a mistake?
When I can learn from somebody else.
Why, if I want to learn real estate from you, real estate in terms in how to buy good property in Japan, definitely I will go to you and ask you. I will not be in pride saying, no, I'll try to learn my more. You know what? There's certain mistakes in life that you can charge to experience. Drinking a bad coffee, having a bad, probably you ordered a bad food in a restaurant. You can charge the experience. But there are certain experiences in life you can never charge the experience. Like choosing your spouse.
Yeah.
Or probably you are a retiree and you invested and start a business with your retirement money and you lost everything. Or if you are an OFW, you came back with some savings and you invested and you got scammed. You can never say that experience is the best teacher. So prevention is better than cure. So in terms of wisdom, so how do you gain wisdom? Read books. Listen to podcasts just like this. Attend seminars. Find coaches and mentors who have been there and done that. By these things, you can gain more wisdom.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you can shortcut all of that.
Yes, there's no shortcut to success, but you can cut short your learning curve.
Yes. Absolutely. 100% agree. What about, okay, so we talked about the attitude part, okay? We talked about the skills. What about when you talked about the wisdom and learning, right? What about, and one of the things I really admire you for is how you're able to teach financial literacy in layman's terms and make things and break things down so that the normal average Filipino can understand it. And just like how you did right now, you're like, you're talking about someone's paycheck in terms of 5 levels: day to day, week to week, month to month,
Yeah.
year to year, decade to decade. And that's something, click,
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. I'm in the category 2. I need to get in category 3. And then when you make them think it in that terms, that really kind of helps to shape and make them rethink their decisions.
Exactly.
Right? But I feel like there's so much, the environment that people are in this country, there is no basic level financial education. And this is very much true in the States too. They don't teach you how to be rich in school. They don't teach you how to manage money. They don't teach you how to manage debt. You only really learn about money until you get into business school, when you get into business finance and accounting. Then you start to understand the principles behind money.
Yes.
But I feel like here, like things that we take for granted, things about like understanding debt, understanding interest, understanding financial concepts and mental constructs around the finance industries and financial literacy is all taken for granted here.
Yes.
We don't have any of that here.
Yeah.
It's almost, but I feel like there's so much work that needs to be done to kind of, once people are able to get out of level 1 and 2 and they're getting into level 3, okay, now what can I put that little discretionary income into?
That's where the last part comes in. Again, first we start with the attitude, right? And then the skills. The third part is knowledge. Wrong input, wrong output.
Right.
What you sow is what you reap.
Right.
So if you don't get good information, like for example, in terms of investment, if you just listen to what other people might say, you might make the wrong investment because you're making your investment based on your hearsay. It's not an investment based on your plan in terms of your goal, your financial goals. When you want the money, how you want to use the money, how do you want to spend the money. So knowledge part is really crucial. And again, when you talk about knowledge, it's really about learning about the basics, just like what you mentioned, learning about how to make money, how to handle money, how to invest your money, how to protect your money. So if you don't learn the basics, you will really have a hard time.
Where do they go to learn this?
Well, nowadays, there's no excuse for you not to learn.
Yes, right? You have YouTube now.
Yeah, you have YouTube. You can just subscribe especially if you're a Filipino speaking person. Right now, I'm speaking in English, and I promise you I brought 2 sacks full of English, so I won't run out of English today. So you can just follow me at my Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and you can learn a lot for free.
Tell us what your handle is.
My handle is Chinkee Tan, or just look for CHINKEETAN. That's it. And then right now, this is what probably most people missed out. The first part is the financial literacy part. But you know what's the hardest part? It's the next step.
What?
Financial discipline.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's before we go into the financial discipline, let's talk a little bit more about financial literacy. Let's talk about debt.
Yeah.
Is debt a big problem?
Yeah. Here in the Philippines?
Yes.
Yes.
Tell us why.
It's a cultural thing. Again, it's a cultural thing. It's normal for a family to be in debt because that's what probably they've experienced when they were young. And this really scares me. And as a matter of fact, we were helping an orphanage. Actually, yeah, it's an orphanage. And at the same time, a daycare. And there were kids playing around 4 years old, 5 years old, and they were saying, let's start a family. Let's play that you are the father, you are the mother, you're the kids, and they're playing. And then all of a sudden, the father shouted, "It's time for breakfast," and the mom shouted, "We don't have yet breakfast." And the mom shouted to the child, "Go to the corner store, and then you just ask the aling nena to get a sardines and then charge it."
Yeah.
So they were playing. They were reenacting what they are experiencing on a daily basis. For them to be in debt, it's a hand-to-mouth existence. It's a normal thing.
Right.
So if you are ingrained in that type of environment, for you, it's okay for me to be in debt because it's a natural thing. So once they get their salary, what do? They pay off their debt. Again, they borrow again before the salary comes, and then again, it's a cycle.
Listen, I'm at the level where I know there's good debt and there's bad debt.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad debt in this country that people don't realize that they're in bad debt. There's a term for it in the States. We call them predatory loan.
Yeah.
Here, you guys call them 5/6 loans.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, how big of a problem is this for Filipinos?
Yeah. Well, most of the Filipinos, they borrow, but they don't really understand how much interest they're paying.
Why is that?
Well, because they don't ask.
They don't even ask.
They just want to know how much can I afford to pay the monthly.
I see.
Like buying a car, they would say, "Oh, you only pay 15,000 a month." They don't even ask. I can afford that.
There's so many guys that are promoting so-called business loans, right, or whatever they call them, and you ask them, "What's the interest rate?"
They don't know.
Well, if you're smart enough to ask them, they'll tell you 3%.
Of what?
Of what? Exactly. I'm like, 3%? That sounds too low.
Yeah.
3% monthly.
Yeah. But you'll be shocked and surprised nowadays. 5/6 is 20%. So it's around 240% per what do you call this? Per year, right?
So how can you ever pay that off? What is debt if if it's designed to never be able to be paid off?
Yeah, you just need to probably understand if you want to educate yourself right now, you have to understand some principles in terms of borrowing money. It's either money can work for you and money can work against you. There's what we call as the rule of 72, which I explained to you during the time when I interviewed.
Explain it to us.
Again, the rule of 72 states you just take the number 72 and divide it by the amount of interest that you're going to gain or you're going to lose. That will determine the amount. That will determine when your money will double, when your income will double, or when your debt will double.
So if it's like 10% interest,
72 divided by 10, it's 7.2. So your money will double every 7 years.
Right. Or your debt will double
every 7 years. Right. So
but that's 10% interest per year.
Per year.
Now, they don't understand 10% interest per year versus 3% per month.
Yes.
They don't understand the difference between that and compound interest.
Yes, 3% times 12, that's 36. 72 divided by 12, that's 2 years. So money that you borrowed from that in financial institution at 36%, which is the credit card rate right now here in the Philippines.
36%?
Yes, 3.5% times 12, that's 42% in reality.
Holy shit.
So,
is that even legal?
Well, they're charging it. Just look at the billing statement. So the money that you borrowed from the credit card company doubles every 2 years. Okay, let's just, for computation's sake, you just moved you moved house, you forgot about that credit card, you never paid it, and it started with 10,000, and you neglected it for 10 years. So 72 divided by 36, it will double every 2 years. So 10 years you forgot to pay divided by 2. How many times will your debt double? 5 times. So let's just double it. 10 will become 20, 20, 40, 40, 80, 80, 160, 160, 320,000. So your original debt of 10,000 in a period of 10 years time at 36% per annum will become 360,000 pesos.
You will never get out of poverty.
No.
You will, and in fact, many of these loans are designed so that you're not able to pay it back. If you don't pay it back, what happens? Is it collateralized? Are all these loans collateralized by something?
No. Not all, but specifically those with high interest don't have any collateral. Specifically with loan apps right now, which are really prevalent. So you have to be careful. They say it's only 0.5%. 0.5%. Again, per what?
Was it per day or per?
It's per day.
That's ridiculous.
It's per day. So 0.5 per day, that's around 30 days, that's 15 times 12, that's 180%.
People don't understand what compound means. That means that you pay interest on top of interest. So you're paying the interest. So the amount of money that you're not paying, that adds up. How do you put it? It's hard to explain compound interest. Basically, your principal, your remaining, it's your principal plus your interest.
Yeah.
And unless you can pay more than the interest, whatever the remaining amount gets added onto the principal, meaning your principal grows
Yeah.
because of the interest. And then you're paying interest on top of
Yeah, for you to be able to feel it, probably, it's hard to explain in numbers, but in feelings, it's much easier to explain. You know how?
How do you explain this?
You just imagine you're going to get paid with your salary, and you know for a fact that most of your salary, you won't be able to touch it.
That's the hard reality.
Yeah, that's if you don't want to probably know the numbers, just go to the feeling. You will understand what I mean.
Yeah.
So if you don't see any money left over from your existing income,
Yeah.
where will you get the inspiration and motivation to really work,
Exactly.
to be productive? You know for a fact, just like slaves, they don't get anything. They're
Yeah.
just like a slave.
Right. At that point, you're just slaving away to pay off that debt.
It's really disappointing, frustrating, depressing.
But conversely, if you are financially savvy, you can become very rich
Yes.
off of debt.
Yes. Definitely.
I'm not talking about lending the money to other people. I'm talking about using debt and leveraging up your money. In the case, for example, the most common one is real estate.
Definitely. Again, I'm not really an expert on that, but I saw my parents. They're really simple-minded people, never finish any formal degree. They purchased a property in Manila during that time, 300 plus thousand pesos at 70 square meters lot area, 200 floor area. That's a townhouse. They purchased two. We lived in it for 10 years and have it leased out also for one of the units. And after 10 years, they sold it at 3.5 million pesos each. So 350,000 became, so times 10.
Right.
And then after that, again, they had the money. They purchased another property in Quezon City, bought it at 7. They sold it at 9 million in less than a month.
Did they ever leverage any of this?
Yes.
Yeah,
and
all
then,
of it.
Yes. And then after that, they had 9 million, purchased another 2 property in New Manila, and then the same thing.
Right.
They just repeat. So I've seen my parents, they were able to leverage. As a matter of fact, the first purchase was even through Pag-ibig funds.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So they were just paying minimal fee at the 300 plus thousand. So it's really amazing.
And you can't really get to the status of rich. Let's define what rich is. Rich is relative, right? What do you define as, getting rich? We're talking about you could be poor or middle class. Everybody has dreams of becoming rich. What should be the standard definition of that?
For me, again, it's a personal thing, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's the word called freedom.
Yes.
The freedom to choose where you want to eat, freedom to choose where you want to live, freedom to choose where you want to enroll your kids, the freedom to choose where you want your loved ones to be medicated when they get sick.
Yeah.
That for me is being rich.
Right.
For an OFW, being rich probably is the freedom to have more time with their family and loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
For a dying person, probably for them, freedom is to be healed.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about being rich, again, this is very personal and subjective. For me right now, from nothing to something, I'm really so thankful and grateful that I'm able to experience what I'm experiencing right now. Looking back to where I started and where I'm here right now, it's really amazing. I can really thank God for this. However, this is the revelation that I realized, John, and the people who are listening to this. This is where I really understood when King Solomon said, everything is meaningless in life. The richest man in the world said, everything is meaningless in life. And when I was starting, I told, yes, you can say that because you have everything in life. You can afford everything in life. But now I can afford the things that most people or probably the rich people can buy, I now do agree. You know why?
Because once you have everything, it doesn't bring you happiness, or
No, because this is what I realized. Even though you can afford to buy 7 houses, at the end of the night, you can only sleep on 1 bed.
right.
You can afford to buy 7 cars. You can only drive 1 when you go out. Even you can afford to eat at all the fancy restaurants, buffet. As a matter of fact, if you do that, you get sick, right? So at the end of the day, you just need a 1 bed, a small space. Even though you have 10,000 square meters, you can just occupy a few square meters.
Right.
So that's where I get to realize, yes, money is good to have, but we should not work for money. We should work for the reason why we're working is because we want to have more freedom.
Right.
And it all depends on how do you define freedom.
For me, my rule was I can go anywhere,
Yes.
do anything,
Yes.
anytime I want it.
And you don't have to worry about, yes.
But that came with a number.
Okay.
Right? So obviously, you have to have a certain amount
Yeah,
of income,
Of course.
every month, or savings, to be able to afford to do that, right?
yeah, it depends on the lifestyle that you want to choose.
Yeah.
Again, everyone has a different level of lifestyle. If you want a simple life, just buy a piece of land in a farm and then you retire. Simple life.
Right.
But if you want to travel all around the world, you cannot have that type of a life. You have to earn more.
But here was the difference. I didn't want to just earn that money to be able to do that. I wanted my money to earn that money for me. So I said, okay, well, I need to make at least $10,000 a month or something like that. I said like $100,000 a year, right? Give or take. $100,000 a year, I can live whatever lifestyle I want. I can do anything I want, eat anywhere I want, go anywhere I want, whenever I want. $100,000. But I didn't want to work for that $100,000.
Exactly.
I wanted my money to make me that $100,000. So reverse engineer it.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's a typical return on an investment? 5% was a pretty
Exactly.
standard, nothing too crazy, nothing too volatile. Standard 5%. Your U.S. Treasury bonds at the time was 5%, risk-free. In order to make 5%, in order to make $100,000 a year at 5%, you needed $2 million.
Is it only 2 or 20?
No, $2 million.
2 million.
$2
Okay.
million dollars.
Okay.
Yes, I believe so. $2 million invested. You can take that $2 million invest in T-bonds, real estate, equities, as long as it paid a 5% return.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that was my mark,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
that's where again I want to challenge everyone who's listening right now. That's where the 2 types of income comes in. The first is the active income. You work, you get paid. Passive income, even if you stop, you get paid. So for people out there, you want to retire early, and probably John, what's your ideal age of hitting that?
So I set my goal. I got serious about this goal at 35.
Okay.
Well, I first said it at 20. I didn't really get serious until I was 35. And I said, okay, by 40, I have
Yes.
to hit that goal.
Yeah.
I hit that at 39.
Okay, great. So this is the way to do it. Aside from what John mentioned, you need to have a number, the final number, and reverse engineer it. The goal is this right now. You have to ask yourself, based on the probably, again,
100,000 was my minimum benchmark.
yeah, per year.
Per year.
Yeah, the 100,000 thing. The question, if you're earning the 100,000 right now, that you're saying, probably you're saying, John, Chinkee, I'm earning that much right now. Congratulations, you're making $100,000 right now. But the question that you need to answer is the 100,000 coming from active or passive? Because if it's coming from active, you're again in danger. The moment you stop working, you stop earning, but you don't stop spending. So if you want to experience what John is experiencing right now, this is the key. You transfer slowly your income from active to passive.
Investments.
90%, 10, 80, 20, 70, 30, 60, 50, 60, 40, 70, 30, 80, 90, 90, 10. The earlier you transfer your income from active to passive, the earlier you can retire. As a matter of fact, you don't have to reach the age of 50. You don't have to reach the age of 60. The moment you hit that, you can already retire.
Right. Exactly. That was my retirement mark. But it doesn't stop there.
I know. Again, just like what I mentioned, you should be contented, but you should not be satisfied.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Be thankful and grateful whatever God provides for you for the day. Every single day. Never ever complain. And then after that, you aspire that you know
Yeah.
God has better plans.
And I'm still learning every single day.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out how to diversify my portfolio in a way that makes sense.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm still trying to learn the equities market.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it never stops.
And FYI, guys, that's the reason why I want to emphasize on the word called wisdom. Having the wisdom to create money is good. Having the wisdom to handle and manage your money is good. But having the wisdom to grow and make the right decision will make you rich or it will make you poor.
Yes.
Why? Just imagine this. It took you a lot of years to earn the money. It took you a lot of discipline and years to save the money. But it only takes you one bad decision.
To wipe it all out.
And you know that.
Right. Or your government can shut you down.
Yeah.
You can be taken over by another country.
Or your social media can change the algorithm and you're done.
Exactly. Right? But I can start all over.
Yeah.
Because I've learned everything.
Yes. That's the reason why I want to encourage you guys. If you want to become rich, learn the process. Do not focus on the results only. Because a lot of people want to eat the cake, but only a few people want to learn the process of baking a cake. If you finish the cake, you need more money to buy cakes. But if you learn how to bake a cake, you will never run out of cakes.
You know, and I picked up a lot of this mindset because I was hungry and I read a lot of books too.
Yeah.
Not only did I try and fail a lot of businesses, but I learned by reading a lot of books. There's so many great books out there. And you read them and you're like, wow, I just changed something in here.
That's the reason why, that's what I refer to as one big idea. And that's the reason why if you really want to continually grow your wealth, you just need to stay hungry.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why at my age right now, I'm turning 60 this year. I'm still hungry.
Right.
The day when I was age 12, that hunger, that pain, is the same tenacity and grit that I have up to this very day.
Yeah, I can see that. I thought once I reached those numbers, I would go into retirement. So for the last 7 years and 8 years, I called myself quote unquote retired. I retired early. Mm-hmm. And then I went out and bought a bunch of properties. I renovated and fixed a bunch of properties, and I managed a bunch of properties. And I look back, I'm like, shit, that was in retirement. That was a lot of work.
Yeah.
I can't stop.
Yeah.
So now I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Because it's like it never stops. Once you have that mindset, I don't know if I could be happy just enjoying the fruits of my labor. I need to have a struggle.
Well, it all depends on the person. Probably we can just say it. You're just finding a reason, probably. A reason.
I need something to go for, something to shoot for, something to work towards.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a workaholic type of mentality. I don't think I'm a workaholic. I just think you just can't. I haven't figured out the right balance.
No, let me help you to probably, by saying this, let me coach you.
Sure, please.
There are 4 stages in a person's life. Number 1 is the survival stage.
Yeah.
We all go through that.
Yeah.
We want to survive. And then once you strive, the next goal is stability. You want to be stable.
Yeah.
Right? And you hit that. And then after stability, the next stage is success.
Uh-huh.
You want to create and you want to prove that you are good at something and you were able to achieve that.
Yeah.
You are now at that level. And the reason why you're striving right now, it's not because you want to prove that you're successful, because you are already. You're retired at 39, right?
Yeah.
But right now, you are eager in trying to live a life of significance.
Right. 100%.
So that's the striving part already, not for success.
Yes.
But you want to live a life of significance. That's the reason why you're creating this podcast.
Yeah.
It's not about you, because left alone, you can keep all of this, you can gatekeep these ideas, and then you can live comfortably. But right now, you find there's a need for you to share your ideas. And likewise, I went through that. I went to the stage of survival, stability. I was successful. But right now, I'm living a life of significance. That's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing.
It's the best stage, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's the most meaningful.
exactly. Because, again, knowing your purpose in life gives you direction. Being the best at what you're doing gives you purpose and passion. But once you start giving away and living a life of significance gives you meaning
Yes.
in life.
Yes.
It allows you to wake you up every single day.
Right.
Wake you up not in the sense that I need to work to pay my bills.
Yes.
I need to work because I know I'm going to bless someone. I'm going to live a life that can really impact the lives of others.
It's 100% true, and you said it best. Good call. That's interesting. I don't even know why I do it sometimes.
No, because
and I don't know why it gives me satisfaction sometimes.
again, it's the living a life of significance that you're on that stage already.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Let's reimagine the Philippines. Let's reimagine the Philippines as a financially literate country. Let's say we had a magic wand,
Yeah.
and we were able to bless this country.
Yeah.
We made our impact,
Yeah.
significant impact, and it changed the majority of the people here for the good. How many years do you think it would take to get these people, to get the majority of the population out of poverty?
That's a tough a tough question to answer. You know what? It's just like asking, when will be the second coming? Coming. You know what? Unless again, I'm really praying and hoping that we will have really good leadership in our country, in the Philippines. Unless there's a leader who's really has the best of the Filipinos, who wants to help the Filipinos, who doesn't want to take advantage of the Filipinos, who doesn't want to enrich themselves but really help to uplift the lives of others. That's the only time I do believe it will happen. But for the meantime, it's not happening. We just need to take it on our own.
Yeah.
Because we cannot really wait for that thing to happen. What if it doesn't happen? But I've seen a lot of creative, hardworking Filipinos right now who's listening to this podcast. I do believe in the Filipino resiliency, in the Filipino grit, at the same time, their creativity. But one thing that they need to really learn, honestly, they need to humble themselves and really learn about personal finance. And that brings me to the last part. It's all about not only financial literacy, but being financially disciplined and being financially responsible.
Right. Absolutely. The country that, when you were talking about, you know, a leader in a government that can support this, they're probably the people that have the biggest power to change this. The country that comes to my mind is Singapore.
Exactly.
And Lee Kuan Yew.
Yeah, definitely. For me, it's really an innovative leader. He's a leader who has the right heart, the right mind, and the right skill.
And also a dictator.
Yes, again, yeah.
What they call him, the benevolent dictator.
Yes.
But he talked about how the system, he needed to be in a system to be able to dictate those things, because he talks about how our political system creates strife at every corner.
Yes.
Similar, because we copied the U.S. Political system.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant for our country.
Yeah. And likewise, I do believe for our nation here in the Philippines, as a Filipino, Chinese, we need really someone who can really lead us and inspire us. Because again, one thing that I've learned, again, I go back from the quote of Lee Kuan Yew: culture defines destiny. If you go inside the Catholic Church, if you've been to a Catholic church, have you seen anyone who smokes inside the Catholic Church? Who curses at the Catholic Church, inside the church? No one.
No.
Because they respect the culture of the church. They know the culture of the church. Once they step out of the church, they smoke, or probably because that's the culture. So what do I mean? If you do not define the culture of your community, if you don't define the culture of your family, if you don't define the culture of the nation, you know what will people do in a company, in an organization, a family? People will dictate the culture for you.
Yeah, that makes sense. And of course, you have a bunch of people dictating that don't have the discipline,
Yeah,
the literacy.
exactly. And they're not responsible.
Yeah. Yeah. 100% agree. Let's just say, hypothetically, we have a government, we have that great leader. What do you think are some of the, give me the top 3 things you think would make the biggest impact in terms of changes?
In terms of changes,
Yeah. Where do we start? Or how do we fix this?
I believe everything that happens on the outside is only a representation of what's happening in the inside. If you don't like the output of some things, it when you say you don't change the output, you change the input, right? So I think number one that needs to be changed is the political system. In terms of, again, how do you change the political system? You take it one step backward. You change the way the politician thinks. Again, unfortunately, the way we do politics here is based on patronism, in terms of, okay, you give me something, I'll vote for you.
That's the politicians are going to play to what people are willing to. So if people are willing to vote based on what you give me,
Yeah.
that's going to be the name of the game.
Yeah, there's one politician right now who just received an award internationally. He's awarded as a game changer award. At the same time, he's anti corruption. He's the mayor of Pasig.
Okay. What's his name?
His name is Vico Soto. He mentioned, he said, be very careful when any politician from the lowest level, from the barangay level to the highest level, will spend a lot of money. Because once they spend, the salary is not even enough to cover the expenses. Where do you think they will get the money to recover what they paid in the expenses? So it's a big question mark that for people who knows how to think.
Yeah.
Right. And the way I've read a book that state, if you want to control people, this is how you do it. You make them poor, but do not make them hungry.
Ooh.
And make sure when they're hungry, you give them what they need.
Right.
So they become indebted to you.
Right. This sounds like pretty common political practice all over the world, not just the Philippines.
Yeah. So again, make them poor, but don't make them hungry. If you make them hungry, they will rise up against you.
Right.
So if you want to control them, make them depend on you.
Social welfare.
Yes.
That's how you keep them poor.
Exactly. That's the reason why the 4Ps, it's a must, it's a need. Pantawid program, we have the 4Ps here. But I do believe it cannot be a long-term thing. It should be a short-term thing. They should graduate. As a matter of fact, there was one time they were hiring some people under the 4Ps program.
What's the 4Ps program? Tell me about it.
It's Pantawid, Pamilya, para sa mahihirap program. It's a social welfare
Okay.
system for people who are on the lower level of society. In order for you to qualify, you must be jobless.
Okay.
But once you have a regular job, you're out of that system. And this is the strange part. There's a group of companies who wants to hire them, and they refuse to be hired.
Because they'd rather have the social welfare.
Yes.
We have the same problem in the States, in Australia, in Europe.
Yeah, that's the reason why they'd rather stay,
Unemployment benefit.
yes, on that level rather than, again, aspiring for more.
What level is that? I mean, can they even
That's
pay for
level
their?
1 and
Can
2,
they
eh.
even pay for anything with that level?
Yeah, no, that's level 1 and 2, definitely. It's on a daily and weekly basis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's less than, I think, 7,000 pesos per month.
Jesus. Yeah.
How can you survive?
But you think about it. Okay, I get 7,000 a month, or some of these people are making 12, 13,000 a month working.
Not even, they cannot even afford, because again, according to Ibon Foundation here in the Philippines, if you live in Metro Manila, you must be earning at least 1,200 pesos a day.
Okay. So that's the minimum in order to survive. What's the minimum salary here?
Right now, it's around 700 to 800 a day.
So that comes out to be like 15, 20,000 a month or something.
And we're talking about not meeting, it's survival.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not stability.
Right.
That's the reason why right now normal Filipinos need to have 2 income earners in order for them to be financially stable.
Wow. Chinkee, tell us about your investment strategies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's your personal investment strategies right now in 2025?
Definitely, number 1 rule in my investment strategy, I will never invest in something that I do not understand.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, every time when I go abroad, I see a lot of watches and everything, but I just look at them and I don't understand. I can afford to buy them, but I don't understand. So I say, don't buy it. Don't buy it. My wife always tells me, let's just buy this for investment. How can you say that it's investment? We don't even know the base price and the selling price.
Right.
So number 1, never get into something, no matter how profitable it may be. My second way of investment strategy, definitely diversification. Never put your eggs in one basket.
I was going to ask you in terms of the financial discipline, understanding that concept, diversification. A lot of people don't understand diversification and hedging. Well, if you're at a low level, depending on what level you are.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, it all depends. Definitely, is it depend on the level when you earn, or you can afford to invest 500 pesos per month, 1,000, 50,000, 100,000, 5 million to 10 million. It all depends on your level of capability.
Chinkee, do you invest in real estate?
Definitely. Again, I'm an old.
Old school, old dog.
Yes. Yeah.
What percentage of your portfolio do you put into real estate?
I would say around 60%, 50 to 60%.
60%.
Yes, are on real estate.
Right. That's a good portion. I
Yeah.
would say I'm probably close to that as well. If you were to start off, right? Obviously, real estate is such a big moat and just high cost to entry. And you were just starting off, you're level 2 or level 3. You were just making a slight discretionary income. Where would you invest?
Right now, if I have 500 pesos, if you're starting, you can start with the traditional number 1. Right now, Ebanks, surprisingly.
Ebanks pay an interest rate, right?
Yeah, regular
Yeah.
banks pay less than 1% per annum. Ebanks pays 3.5 to 8% interest per annum.
Wow.
And the reason why Ebanks can afford it because they don't have capex. They don't have capital expenditure. They don't have to rent space, buy space, construct, right? And not only that, they have less OPEX because they don't have to hire staff.
8% sounds ridiculously high.
Yeah, but it's the good news is it kind of dangerous? No, it's covered by the PDIC, Philippine Deposit Insurance Corporation,
it's
by
insured.
$500,000.
$500,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you have more than, if you want, you can divide it with several e-banks.
Wow.
So that's the low barrier of entry. The second one, if you want to try real estate also with 500, with a few thousand pesos, you go to REIT.
Right. So REITs are publicly traded, or
Yeah, publicly.
So you're talking about the PSEI. You're talking about the Philippine stocks.
Yes, for people out there, it's called Real Estate Investment Trust.
Right.
So they are public listed companies by real estate companies. They lease out their property for commercial properties, and they sell their shares. Right now, they are required by the government to return a certain portion back to the people. So you earn two ways. First way, you earn through capital appreciation. When you buy at 1 peso and it becomes 2 peso, when you sell, you make 100%. And the second, they give dividends on a quarterly basis.
And that dividend is based on the rental income of the
Yes.
property. So basically, essentially, a REIT is if like you and I
Yes.
and a bunch of people go in together and buy properties, a big property portfolio, right?
Yes.
And depending on how much you put in and how much I put in, the income from the
Rental
the
property.
rental income
Yeah.
gets shared.
Yes.
Based on our percentage ownership. And then when that property sells, then we get
A
the
higher,
equity.
yes.
Right. But in the case of a REIT, it's how do you call it? It's turned into a stock.
Yes.
It's
A share.
It's yeah. So then there's liquidity to it. So that means you can sell your share
Anytime.
in the open market at any time.
Yes.
Making real estate liquid.
Yes.
Because the problem with real estate for a lot of people,
It's hard assets.
it's hard to sell. It's
Yes.
not liquid.
Yes.
It's difficult to manage. But if
Yes.
you believe in the business of real estate,
Yes.
which it's one of the most safest,
Yeah.
fundamental businesses, and most highly successful business anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you the huge high returns, but it's safe.
Yeah, and the good
At
thing
least-
is you can get to learn already about the real estate business without the headaches.
Right.
And the minimum barrier entry.
What about stocks? Do you believe in the stock market here? Do you believe in the Philippine stock market?
It's kind of tricky right now because over the period of 5 years, it's not really performing as expected.
Yeah, this is what I've been asking everyone. I've asked David Lee Chu. I'm trying to get some financial PSEI experts here. I can't understand why the Philippines has been on such a bull run. The Philippines economy has been on an average 6% growth every year, one of the highest in Asia. But yet the PSEI has basically been trading sideways since 2013.
You know why?
Why?
Ever since the introduction of crypto.
Thank you for the answer. Found it. I found my answer.
Because ever since the crypto gains momentum and awareness, a lot of stock investor learned crypto and transferred their investment in crypto. The difference between PSE and the stock market and the crypto, in stock market you trade Monday to Friday.
Yes.
There's a certain period of time.
And then the PSE ends at 3 p.m.
Exactly. Well, in cryptocurrency, you trade 24/7,
Right.
7 days a week, 31 days in a month, 365 days in a year.
Right.
So it makes it more exciting. That's number one. In terms of, like, for example, 5% revenue or 10%, you can earn it in one day in crypto.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I'll get into the crypto in a second because that's been a big topic of all of our discussions, right? But look, money needs to go somewhere,
Yeah.
right? When the government is pumping the economy full of money, that money needs to go somewhere. It usually goes in real estate or it goes in stocks,
Yeah.
right? And that's where you get the asset inflation. If the PSE was the only option, the money would go there.
Yeah. Exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether people trust it or not, it would go there because money has to go somewhere. It cannot just sit in a bank and deflate.
Yes.
The smart money,
Yeah.
smart money knows where to put the money. They need to put the money somewhere, regardless of whether. Now, the problem with the PSE, a lot of people don't trust it as much, right?
Again, I don't want to get into hot water by saying this, but I want to say it safely. Because, yes, PSE has fundamentals.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not saying all, but there are certain people who tries to go against the fundamentals.
How so? What do you mean?
Just like what happened in the States also, they're insider
Insider trading.
Yes.
Because that's what I couldn't understand. It's PSE is sold at what an average of 11, 12 multiple. Think about that. Compare that to the US. Compare that to any other market. The value investment is there, but yet it doesn't grow.
Yeah.
Yet the trading volume is very low. Why?
Again.
Because it has to be confidence, trust in
Yeah.
the system,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So, and so the thinking is that it's rigged for institutional trader, smart money.
Yeah.
If you're a retail trader, forget it.
Yeah. It's again, it's just like during the time of pandemic. I think that's the best illustration. During the time of pandemic, people cannot travel. The rich, we're talking about the rich,
Yeah.
who has the money. They cannot travel. They cannot do anything. So you know what industry grew during that time?
Well, YouTube grew. All sorts of tech companies grew.
Yeah.
Equities, crypto, I don't know. What do
Yeah.
you-
One particular industry that really grew that people don't notice is the art industry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're a big art investor too.
Because these people, they have the money to spend, but they cannot go out anymore.
Uh-huh.
So they become homebodies. So they start to buy arts. And the prices of arts went to the roof during those times. Because they have so much, this, just like you were saying, where the money will go.
Has to go
So,
somewhere. Yeah.
and that's what happened. But when it opened, people started to travel again. They go back to normal. The art industry, again, stabilized. It's not as bullish as before. Again, if you ask the collector's market right now, they're still buying, but they're buying from the premium in terms of artists. But right now, they get to travel, they get to buy things, they get to buy properties again. That's what happens also.
Yeah.
Before, there's no stock market, there's no crypto, there's no other investment. So all of the money goes to the stock market. Everyone's doing stock market.
Right.
But right now, there are a lot of options right now.
Right. So, in terms of, so you're a big believer in investing in art, right?
Yes.
And it's shown to have one of the higher returns.
Yes.
Right. The only thing that I am concerned about, there's no utility value for art, or is there?
Well, definitely, just like, again, it's a niche. When you say niche, just like Rolex, just like
Right.
watches.
Right. Luxury items.
Yeah. Or if not, a bag.
Right. You can buy cars too. Cars are collectibles.
Yeah.
They go
So
up in value.
you would think that who will buy a bag? But right now, an old Birkin who was purchased at 200,000 before, right now selling at a million US dollars.
For a bag.
Yes. So the price appreciates because of the law of supply and demand.
Right.
So you may say that that's a niche market, a small market, but it's really the paying market,
Right.
right? So likewise with the art industry, it's the same.
Yeah. Right.
It may be a niche, but it's a paying market.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about crypto?
Okay. What do you want to learn about crypto?
Do you invest in crypto?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do invest for the sake of learning how it works.
Okay.
But I'm not really heavily invested and exposed there. But the good thing is, again, I learned in terms of crypto investment, you just need to follow Warren Buffett.
What?
He always say, when people are afraid, be greedy. And when people are greedy, be afraid.
Right.
You just go to the opposite.
Right.
When there's a bloodbath, it's down. That's the time you start to choose what you want to buy or invest.
So it sounds like you're pretty diversified amongst all this, and approximately 60% in real estate. I'm sure you bought stocks, or you buy stocks too.
Yeah.
So you're pretty well diversified across stocks, probably bonds, interest, real estate. Maybe REITs, art, crypto.
Yeah, unfortunately, again, the reason why I know stock is not really that good because it's tied up to the investment that we have in a bank. It's called UITF, the Unit Investment Trust Funds. It's not really performing that well for a period of probably 8 to 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though the numbers and the earnings have been good.
Yeah, but the problem is it's tied up to the PSE.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So I would know if the PSE is really doing well when I check my UITF.
I see. Now, for those people who don't understand the importance of diversification, let's talk about it. I mean, we understand this, but talk about why people should diversify. You know, let's talk to the viewers who are maybe not in the level 3, maybe level 4 or level 5. You know, and they only know one thing. They either know real estate and they put all their money in real estate because they understand it, but they don't understand the other stuff. Why is it important to diversify?
Probably we should ask the billionaires when the COVID thing happens.
Right.
The reason why the billionaires are still billionaires
is they're diversified.
Because they're diversified in their business, in their industry. They don't put everything in the... During the time, you know for a fact that the property sector, especially the leasing property for public, for commercial spaces, are really down during that time. Because the tenant cannot pay, they have to cut down, they have to give free rent. So during the time, they weren't surviving in terms of it's really bad business for them. However, their other industries are thriving. So it's just like... let's put diversification not in terms of applying first in investment. Let's put diversification first in terms of cash flow.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, diversification must not be first applied in investing. It must be first applied in cash flow.
Yeah, that's true. Talk about that, please.
Never put your eggs in one basket, because the moment one basket breaks, everything breaks.
You mean that you shouldn't have only one income source?
Yes, exactly.
You need to have multiple income sources.
Exactly. Name me one billionaire in the world that has only one source of income in one industry.
No way.
Yes.
Because if you have the money, you would invest in alternative income sources, even if it pays you less.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, if you take notice, most of I can talk about the Filipino billionaires and the tycoons here, they start with selling. From selling, they start their own small business. From small business, it became a big business. When there's a big business already, they open another new business in a different category. And then after they have money already, they started to buy properties. And then again, name me one billionaire here in the Philippines that is not in the property sector.
None.
Yes, because they can multiply 10x, 20x, 100x of their money through property.
Right.
They buy raw land at 100 pesos per square meter. The moment they put a signage, it becomes 10,000 pesos or 5,000 pesos.
Right. Absolutely.
That multiplies their money overnight.
Absolutely.
And then from there, again, they create more opportunities. As a matter of fact, this is a inside story, but I feel it's really a real story. The reason why the Henry C. started the bank,
why?
Because during those times there weren't credit cards, there weren't credit cards, there weren't check. Everybody was using cash to pay the supermarket. So they have so much cash every night, and they have around 8 to 10 armored vans at the back to do the collection.
Right.
So they thought about it. Why are we bringing out the money? Why don't we just open our own bank so that they can deposit all the money there, and we can ask all of our tenants to bank with us?
Right.
That's how it all started.
That makes sense.
So if you look at their business model and why they went into the real estate business, because again, they were starting to purchase property rather than renting the property.
Exactly.
They should own the property.
They were owning the supply chain.
Exactly.
All of it.
And then all of a sudden they cannot buy a property that there's no such thing as how many hectares of property, so they have to buy it outskirt the area. Since there's no market, again, they created a new business, and that is the high rise to be the target market. So there will be a foot traffic for theirs.
Right. So, absolutely. Every major conglomerate in this country has a real estate development arm and has a bank. totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what kind of business you came from. If you made it big in this business, in this country, most likely you have a real estate arm and you have a bank arm.
Yeah, that's the reason why if you're listening to this podcast, you have to reevaluate what you're doing. If you want to create another income opportunity and diversify, make sure it doesn't have a conflict of interest. It supports what you're doing already.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. And it's even better if you can just, when you diversify, you're owning your supply chain.
Exactly.
Further and further.
Exactly.
And then you take more control. You're not at the mercy of your landlord.
Exactly.
Because now you own the property. And then now you own the property, you're not at the mercy of your bank.
Yes.
Now you own the bank.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Simple. But the way I look at diversification is also, I look at the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I always think of what would it be if we had a zombie apocalypse? How was my Bitcoin going to be worth anything in a zombie apocalypse? Probably not. Is my bank account probably going to be worth anything? My gold bars are going to be worth anything? Probably not. But land, I can still grow food on my land. Actually, if in the zombie apocalypse, it won't matter who owns what. You better have some guns.
No, what you are saying, John, is in everything that we do in life, you always expect the best, but you always prepare for the worst.
Absolutely. And that's why why the rich, they'll stay rich. They'll always be one step ahead, like I said earlier.
That's the reason why when I do things in life, I always think everything that I do every day, that this will be my last day.
Wow.
If this will be my last podcast, how would I be able to deliver the content, the information? I will give my best.
That's amazing.
But I plan as if I'm going to live 100 years.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you did do a podcast as though it was your last day. That was a great talk, actually.
When?
Today, now.
Oh.
I think this is a really interesting podcast. And the way you can break it down, financial concepts, and the way people can easily understand.
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, I am really thank God for that gift, that God has given me the gift to take something that is very complicated and make it very simple for people to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. I want to ask you if you can give my audience or Filipinos out there just one advice that they should always remember. What would it be?
If there's one advice that I can really share with you guys, is never stop learning. Because if you learn, you will earn. If you learn, you will grow. If you learn, you will change. If you learn, you will never be afraid. If you learn, you will take risks. If you learn, you'll be able to explore and open more opportunities. The reason why people stop growing, because they stop learning. And I want to challenge especially people who are working the workforce there. You have to change your way of thinking. Never ever sell the idea, the moment I graduated from college, I stopped learning. As a matter of fact, if you go back, John and everyone's listening, what if I can offer you a school right now that you don't have to pay any tuition fee? As a matter of fact, even while you're learning, you get paid. Will you enroll in that school?
Who wouldn't?
Well, that's the school of employment.
Right.
But the problem is, most people, because when they were learning, they paid for their tuition fee, they were paying for the allowance, and they were paying for everything.
Yeah.
And then once they graduate, they say, I already graduated, I stopped learning right now, so right now it's time for me to earn. But again, the things that I've learned in high school and college is not anymore applicable today.
Right.
So everything is obsolete.
Right.
So right now, when I do things, right now I'm listening to you, I'm also learning. So my goal is I get to learn at the same time while I'm learning at my employment, I get paid.
Right.
So my goal is not to be fixed with my place of work. Even if it's not my scope of work, I will try to learn. So once I get out of my employment, I would know how the entire business system operates so that I would also be able to start my own in the future.
You know what you're talking about is, have you heard of the growth mindset? Do you know what this is about? They called it, there was a Stanford professor who wrote a book about this. And they were running a bunch of experiments. I'll give you a very simplified version of this experiment. And they took 2 sets of kids, 8-year-old kids or something like that. And they tested 2 groups of kids. And they said one group of kids, they told them, they were like 8-year-old kids, they gave them like a 6-year-old level exam. So everybody passed the exam. And they told this first group of kid, you guys are so smart. You guys are amazing. You guys are so good, right? And then the second group of kids, they passed the same exam, level 6 exam. And they told these group of kids, they said, good, you guys worked so hard. You guys made such good effort. They didn't tell them how smart they were or how good they were. Then they gave them, both groups, a much higher level exam, maybe like grade 10 or 11. And they both failed. They both failed the exam. But this group of kids, the first group of kids who was told that they were good, they quit a lot earlier. The second group of kids outperformed the first group of kids because they tried harder, right? And so this was the thought experiment that she was experimenting on kids, and she came out with a book called The Growth Mindset. So it's really a mindset shift that you're talking about. And I tried to describe it too. It's that mindset that, you know, you don't validate yourself and you say you're good. You don't go and say, oh, well, I'm successful now, I must be great. You have the mindset of always like, okay, I've reached this level, you know, I still need to strive to be better. It's always this never-ending quest to become better and improve and to learn. And that's kind of what you're talking about.
That's my attitude. That's really my attitude. Up to this very day, I always convince myself and remind myself that I don't yet know much.
Right. Yeah. And that's great. And I love talking to people like you. There's just so much validation and so much learnings that I get from you, and the way you can eloquently piece these ideas together. I'd love to have you back on my podcast.
Thank you.
Anytime. Like we should dive into other subjects, and I'd love to do more collaborations with you, because I think you're in the forefront of what I wish I can tackle.
Yeah. Thank you very much, John, and thank you very much to all listeners. As I always say in my program, to every problem, there's always a solution. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
So if you guys enjoy this podcast, if you guys liked everything you heard, or if you don't disagree with it, please leave the comments and let us know what you think, whether you agree with Chinkee on his methods and what you think about how Chinkee teaches in financial literacy, or how you think we can improve financial literacy in the Philippines. And also consider subscribing.